Welcome all you future educators, current educators, and lifelong learners to another video where we take technology, teaching strategies, and emerging trends to create engaging educational experiences. In a previous video, Marcus had decided to create a video covering some content in his course. After weighing the pros and cons of whether to find some existing material or just create his own video, he decided that making a custom video was the way to go. In case you missed him working through the benefits of both scenarios, we'll post a link to the video in the description. But regardless, after making the decision, he scripted up the video, filmed the necessary parts, and completed the post-production process. Although he's happy with the video, especially as a first-timer, there are already things he sees that he could do better. He enjoyed the creation process, however, it took a long time. He's not sure the effort was worth it. Well, let's see if we can't give Marcus a few tips to make the post-production process a little quicker, as well as using some tactics in the post-production process to make the final video just a little bit sweeter. Alright, let's start by going ahead and knocking out one myth on the forefront. Video production takes time. As we get experience and learn new tricks, we can speed up the production time and quality, but it will still take time in the long run. Finding media assets like music, images, animations, etc. is time consuming. Customizing those elements to fit the look and feel of your video is also time consuming. Completing the editing and lining things up perfectly, it's all time consuming. So we can speed it up a bit, but we can't eliminate it altogether. One last thing to point out is to remember what we talked about in previous videos about the level of professionalism. Now, if you don't remember that or you haven't had a chance to see that video, we'll put a link of that in the description as well. But essentially, the more professional the video needs to look, the longer production time it will take. If you want to rip out a quick video of you on camera talking and you don't care about weird jumps in the video or audio slips, you can produce that out in a hurry. It will just look like you produced it out in a hurry. So if it doesn't really need to look professional, then you can probably get it done fast. However, Marcus's students have expectations thanks to videos that they've seen on TikTok and YouTube, so we're gonna have to assume that he wants those to look a little bit more professional. So here are a few tips to enhance the quality of the video in post-production while also trying to speed up the process. Now admittedly, these tips are going to deal a lot more with the front end of the post-production process, where you're gathering your assets for the videos that you want to make. We've got some more videos on tips and walkthroughs on actually editing the post-production process, but one of the biggest time leeches is having to go in and find the images and find the audio and the stock videos, and then having to make those look the way that you want. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump into tip 1, editing the audio narration first. The audio narration serves as the guide of what you will want to cover and when you need to cover it in your video. Basically, if you aren't going to be talking about something, then it doesn't need to be on the screen. I don't want to talk about the symbolism of like the Statue of Liberty, but then have a picture of the Taj Mahal on the screen. Thus, the narration is going to dictate to me things to find and gather for the actual video. Whether or not you use a script, get the narration edited and ready to go first so that you have a map of what you need to get throughout the rest of the video. Tip 2. Find some background music. When editing your audio, you'll find points where you have a little bit of dead space in between things that you're saying. This naturally happens when we are talking, but it's a little more pronounced in videos. Additionally, there may be times that you're trying to show viewers something on the screen, and usually when you're moving your mouse around and clicking on stuff, you aren't going to be talking. Whenever we have these silences, whether they're little or big, it feels a little bit weird to the viewers. Something should be happening, but it's not. If you can, go find a good audio track that matches the mood of your video, take the volume down a little bit and play it in the background. Don't let it get loud enough that it overpowers what you are saying, but let it just sit in the background so that when those silences happen in the narration, it's there and the sound is pleasing and it keeps the viewers on task. Just make sure you're following your copyright guidelines and Creative Commons guidelines when you're choosing out that music. Tip 3. Plan for some kind of motion every 5 to 10 seconds. Now, okay, 5 to 10 seconds is going to be variable, but the point is that you need to try and have some consistent motion throughout the video. This could be a screen capture moving around, or you can have different images popping up, or maybe you're using that Ken Burns effect where you slowly have an image gliding across the screen while you talk. Regardless, media such as movies and TV shows have had us make it where our expectations are we see something consistently moving. It helps keep our attention, and when our video just sits there on a static PowerPoint slide for 2 minutes while we talk, boredom is inevitably going to set in. So add motion to your stories and to your points, and you'll get some pretty good payoff for that effort. Tip 4, collect media assets on the forefront. Since you have your narration serving as a map that we talked about in tip 1, and you have an idea of what you're going to need to keep the motion moving in tip 3, you can start going ahead and gathering your media assets. Try to locate as many of these things beforehand, and it will save you time, because once you get into the flow of editing, the process gets dragged out if you have to stop for 10 minutes and go and find that one photo that was perfect, and then you have to go edit it. Once you get back into the editing portion, you've lost your momentum. So instead of finding those media assets when they pop up in the editing process, use your narration to tell you specific items to go look for, and think of what other items you would need to fill those motion gaps up. Also, don't forget about locating any music or sound effects that you might need. Gathering all of these items up at the beginning and putting them in one place will save you a lot of time in the actual editing process. That also leads us to tip 5. When finding media assets, pick the larger sizes. When you're doing any kind of multimedia, there's a general rule that says start big and then shrink it down if you need to. If you find an image that you love and it gives you options of a size to download, choose the one that's 5,000 by 5,000 pixels or something ridiculous like that. Now, joking aside, you really do want to go ahead and choose the largest file. You can always go into an editing program, shrink it down, and the picture will still look crisp. However, if you pick something that's 200 by 200 pixels and your editing area is 1,000 by 1,000 pixels, the picture will end up blurring out and look terrible if you try to make it bigger. Always go big and shrink it down if you need to, never the other way around. Also, don't forget that you can just take portions of a photo if you find something that you like that's large enough. If there's a picture of a group of people and I just need that one person in the group that's laughing, I can always crop out that person with no problem and use that picture as long as it was large enough. So don't think that the entire photo or image needs to be perfect. Does it have that one thing that you need to use? If so, go ahead and crop it out. Now, when doing this, just make sure that you have the right licenses that allow derivatives or changes on the original image that you chose. Tip 6 also goes with finding your media. Try to build out a media repository. Don't forget that when you purchase or you locate that media, you can always use it again in future videos if it fits the content you're talking about. Rather than having to go out and find that image again, get in the habit of storing all of your stock media assets that you gather into one place on your computer. That way, when it comes time to make the next video, you may already have a third of your materials on hand, which saves you time from searching and editing. Tip 7. The final tip here deals with actual editing in the software. If your editing software allows it, use the copy and paste feature when working with different elements in the timeline. If you're using the same icon 3 times throughout a video, don't embed it and edit it 3 times. Rather, copy and paste it from the first time that you used it earlier in the video to where you need it now. Then you can just manipulate it a little bit to fit exactly what you're trying to make it do. This has saved me a ton of time compared to dragging the element fresh from the media bin and then having to manipulate it on the timeline. This is especially true if I have something like effects or motions on that asset that I also want to use over and over again, because the copy and paste takes all of that stuff over with it. Alright, so those 7 tips should make it a little bit less painful for Marcus as he goes into making videos in the future. Now again, the process will always take time, but we can minimize that time and maximize the end product, making the overall process at least feel a little more valuable. Before jumping into his next video project, we'll give one more bonus tip to leave with though. We've heard it often, and we always forget to do it, but save, save, save often. Nothing will eat up more time and grow your frustration levels higher than spending 30 or 45 minutes editing that thing to perfection just to have the software crash on you. The realization that you have to now spend 30 to 45 minutes doing the exact same thing that you just did will cause your anger to reach a boiling point level. And trust me, I speak from painful experience and will never let that happen again. Okay, well, I'll probably let it happen again, but regardless, don't say we didn't warn you. Alright, so So as Marcus gets ready to build, do you guys have any other tips that might work for him to get him on the right track and make this process just a little bit smoother? We focused on a lot of the prep work for editing rather than the true editing process itself. So maybe there are some other items there in the editing process that you know that might speed up the workflow. Let us know what tips you might have by putting them in the comment section below. And also, if you like content like this where we're talking about enhancing your classes using technology and teaching strategies, be sure to hit that subscribe button, as we always try to get new content out there to help you guys make those educational experiences just a little bit better. In the meantime, good luck, keep building, and we look forward to seeing what you guys create.